I'd been drawn to the paranormal since an early age. There was a small cemetery in rural Illinois that I'd go to at night to take pictures from grade school through early college. It was fairly old. There were graves from the 1800s as well as people from today. There wasn't a lot of houses around either, just farms spread out across cornfields. Over the years I collected a few pictures of orbs and some mists, a few of which are here. I've had quite a few experiences as the result of these visits. The one that makes me feel the least comfortable goes like this. It was a quiet night at the cemetery taking pictures with my father and younger brother, the early days of my excursions out there in the dead of night. No strangeness or anything out of the ordinary occurred while we were there, just a cool night out in the country under a billion stars. When we got home we put my dad's SD card in the computer and discovered that he had gotten quite a good picture of a ghostly mist over a grave. I don't have the picture, but it looked like you could have been holding a lit cigarette under the lens. You get the idea. Not long afterwards, our dog started barking out the window next to the computer. He barked consistently for about 20 minutes. It wasn't odd for him to bark outside, it was the timing. So we went outside and looked around, but there were no squirrels or any other creatures of the night. So I went to bed and passed out. I opened my eyes to see my red digital clock was at 3 a.m. on the dot. I sleep with no lights, so my room was pitch black, and over the stillness of the night I heard this faint sliding sound. It was very smooth, like soft wood on carpet. My eyes were open but my mind was mostly asleep, so I didn't really process the sound and went back to sleep. I woke up in the morning for school and looked at my desk in the corner of the room. The wooden chair had been pulled out from my desk and turned to face my bed, perfectly. My desk was right next to the door in my room, and if the chair wasn't pushed in, then I wouldn't be able to get out, so I always kept it in when I wasn't using it. The implication of that still gives me chills every time I think about it. That experience changed the way I approach the paranormal. Since then, when I'm leaving a place after poking around, I'm always very polite but firm in saying out loud that potential spirits are not welcome to follow me home. And it's pretty much worked for me ever since. I ended up having a few more strange things happen in my room over the course of about a year. There'd be the occasional but very obvious feeling of a presence, day and night, and one night I was wide awake in bed when it felt like someone sat on the end of it. I made a bargain with this spirit. Not long after that, if it must stay, then it can have my room for half the day when I was gone, but must leave me alone when I'm home. I was never bothered again. When I was in college, I worked part-time at a Jewish cemetery in reception or office management. The cemetery was closed from Friday afternoon through Saturday evening for Sabbath. We sometimes stayed a bit later in the office on Friday afternoons to get bills out or checks processed. We heard a loud commotion by the cemetery entrance, which was locked, and only staff could get in and out. The office manager went to see what was going on and made me come with her. We went down to the gate to find an older woman, probably around 70, dressed to the nines, begging us to let her in. She kept saying she needed to get back. This was in the suburbs of NJ, so you needed a car to get around, but we didn't see a car or anything. She was just there in this beautiful dress. We couldn't open the gate without the cemetery manager, so we went to go get him. We brought him back to the gate, and no one was there. We looked at video footage of the entrance, and you could see us, the office manager and me, talking, but there was no one on the other side of the gate. The cemetery manager thought we were trying to trick him. I swear to this day we saw a woman in a fancy dress outside that gate. There were multiple cameras and not a single one picked up anyone on the other side of the gate, and you could see the whole gate. All you could see was us. I don't know if it was a ghost or what. The office manager and I decided not to tell anyone else, but we would mention it to each other every once in a while. I worked all last summer for a small town. Part of my job was going out and weed whacking and mowing the cemetery once a week, meaning I spent 8 to 16 hours a week out there depending on what needed to be done. There was a man out there who would show up right beside the same grave every time I was on the lawn mower. Every day without fail his shadow would appear in the middle of the field beside the same grave in the middle of a treeless section of the cemetery. I think he was just a lonely spirit on the way to the next life. After I quit, I was packing up to move back to college, and I was standing in the middle of a bedroom in the basement holding an Actifry. The thing turns on and beeps and runs for about 30 seconds. And I'm holding the cord and standing in the middle of the room. I think he realized I wasn't coming back and decided to mess with me a bit, honestly. A lot of the old guys from town were known to be pranksters. The only other thing I can think of is the squirrel carcasses that would appear. I think it might have been a hawk, but every few days without fail there would be about 4 to 5 new rodent carcasses, funny skin like a hunter had skinned them under an old dead tree. That I think freaked me out the most. I don't work at a cemetery, but I do have a story. Just outside my hometown there is a small castle. Brief history: it was a motte in 1100s and slowly progressed to a castle and Georgian residence throughout time. There is a small burial ground outside of it, and me and my friends decided to investigate the local rumors about a shining light that shone in a powerless section of the place. Anyways, we got there, saw the light and roamed the grounds for somewhere near an hour. It was a very uneasy place, so we decided to leave. We got attacked by a flock of birds. When I got back to my car outside the grounds to drive home, I got an unexpected call from my mother asking was I alright, and that she had gotten a very bad feeling about me crossing her mind. I let her know I was fine and would be home in the next 15 to 20 minutes, not to be worrying about nothing. Cut to about 5 minutes later, after I had ended the call and was beginning my drive home. I was pulling out onto the main road and a car with no lights on, in the pitch dark, came and smashed into the side of my car. Nobody was seriously hurt. If the car with no lights had been 5 seconds later, she would probably have killed my friend in the following car, as she would have hit his driver's door rather than my rear door. I will always remember that night. It felt as though we shouldn't have ever been there, and an incident was bound to happen with the feeling around that place. Have never been there since. This was about 6 years ago. For more chilling tales from the beyond, subscribe to our channel, and remember, even in the silence of the cemetery, the stories live on.